Our speaker today is Sarah. She's from Harrisburg. I met Sarah, I think about 3 or 4 years ago. I walked into a meeting or an event, I don't remember where it was, and this laugh was going on and this smiling face was there, and I thought, wow, she's got it. Because when I started off in Al-Anon, all I did was cry, and still do. But I thought, she's been around a while, she really knows what's going on, she's really got the program, and I need to watch her, I need to see her, and I enjoy every time I bump into her. And then I found out recently, she hasn't been around that long, but she's really got it, and I really enjoy everything. So I was really pleased when it was suggested that we ask her to be this year's speaker. She's been in Al-Anon for 4 years. She says, like many of us, that Al-Anon saved my life, my sanity, and eliminated untold drama from my family and friends. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm an incredibly grateful member of Al-Anon. I also bring a phone because good Lord will never leave if I don't have something to keep an eye on the time. So there we go. Start. I'm a grateful member of the Swatera Serenity Al-Anon family group, which meets so close to this hotel that if you had an NFL quarterback throw a couple footballs, they'd hit the church where we meet. So I can see the church from here. I can see her from the church. That's comforting. That's very comforting. I am the granddaughter of an alcoholic. I am the daughter of an alcoholic. I am the ex-wife of an alcoholic. I am the daughter-in-law of an alcoholic. I belong here. And I didn't know that for a long time. I thought that there was something terminally unique about me, that the way I responded to situations must just be my particular type of crazy, and that if only everybody would just do what I wanted, it would be so much easier. And they didn't. They really never did. And on the rare times when they did do what I wanted, that wasn't enough. I was talking with somebody earlier. I was explaining that when I married my husband, I went in with eyes wide open. I can't speak for anybody else's experience, but my ex-husband and I met at a party. I lived in Massachusetts at the time, and he lived down here. I had gone to school down here. I had lived down here for a while and had moved back up. And this was in the era of MySpace, when everybody's reaching out back to each other back in 2007. And a friend of mine said, hey, I'm having a party. Come on down, such and such a weekend. Great, I'm there. In fact, I think it was the 29th of July in 2006, I met my husband. We have a picture from that evening. It was a pirate-themed party. And I was dressed in pirate-themed gear because there were prizes. And if I can win a prize, I will be there and I will win the prize, so help me. And he's wearing a shirt that says, I'm kind of a big deal, which is a quote from Anchorman. And I already look like, yep, this is the one. And I went back up to Massachusetts the next day and played it cool, and he invited me to come down for his birthday, which was Labor Day weekend, so I did. I came down to visit him, and we had a lot of fun. There was a lot of partying, and there were 2 nights when he was blacked out drunk. And I drove home on that Monday, that Labor Day Monday, and I remember thinking, I really like him. But, So I got home and I took a little notebook because I wanted to make sure the words were right when I called him to A, say I'd gotten home safely, and B, let him know some stuff. And I wrote down on that paper, and this is what I said to him, hi, Mike, I'm home, thanks, I really had a fun time this weekend. I think you might have a drinking problem. Have you ever considered AA? You're funny, you're smart, I love spending time with you, you make me laugh, we seem to really connect, but it seemed like you drank a lot and you didn't necessarily remember what happened. Have you ever thought about that? I've known him for a month. We've seen each other twice. And I'm already going, just from my armchair opinion, you might have some difficulty with alcohol. And he said, no, it was my week, it was my birthday weekend. It was a party. It's just how I am. I think I'm fine. And I said, okay. Now, I want to send a me back in time to early September of 2006 and just whack myself in the head as hard as humanly possible and say, no, this is not for you. And then send me immediately after that, like Back to the Future style, where there's several of us going, and then just gather me up in 2006 and go, it's okay, baby, you did not know. You didn't know. I let what I wanted take over what I should have done, which was said, you are lovely, you will find a lovely person, and it is not me, and I am going to go forth into a normal, happy life. Now, I want to pause the story there to say, if you haven't noticed, this has been a lot about me. I chose him. In fact, if you put me in a room with 100 people and you hid the alcoholic, I'd find him. And that would be my guy. Because I know that type of crazy. That's my crazy. That's me. I operate on that frequency. I don't understand people who don't have serious problems. Like how boring could that be? Like, oh wow, just days and days of normal conversation about everyday things, like who's going to mow the lawn this weekend? No. That may be for other people, but really I would like to have big discussions about what's wrong with you and how we can fix that. But not about me, because it's not my problem, it's you. I decided after having a conversation with him and deciding that he was probably a problem drinker, that the best possible course of action would be to lock that down as quickly as possible. Let's get married as soon as possible, because apparently all the ladies were flocking and I just needed to make sure that I got him for myself. So we were married within a year. He was drunk at the wedding. Now, I don't mean the reception. He was drunk at the wedding. I do. He was drunk. But, it's a special occasion. That's what you do with your groomsmen before, right? Yeah. And I thought it was funny and charming and really annoying, but, now that we're together, things will change because I said so. And thus began a 6-month repeat performance. You could have all timed it. It would have been a fabulous pay-per-view. Like, oh, wait, it's about 2 weeks to go. Let's make sure we order the fight that's going to be coming up. Because it's 6 weeks like clockwork. I would get really frustrated. He wasn't doing the things he had promised he would do the last time we had the 6-month fight. And then I would get irritated, and he would get irritated, and we would get irritated, and we would throw out all sorts of good argumentative words. And I would really say, you need to do this for me. And he would really say, this is who I am. And then a couple hours after the biggest part of the fight, he would come back and he would be apologetic and, no, I don't want to leave, and let me make a list of things we'll do. And yes, I'm quite happy to make you, happy with that list. Let's work on that list together, you and I, on the list of things you need to work on. And then 2 days later, nothing on the list was happening, and let's reset it for the next 6 months, shall we? And in all that time, I didn't know where Al-Anon was because I wasn't looking for it. I like to joke in my meeting that I would say, Al-Anon, not your first stop. because it didn't make any sense to me that a super intelligent, very clever, blah, blah, blah woman couldn't figure out how to fix this very simple problem. Why would I go to a whole bunch of strangers who don't understand? I think last night the flag, you don't understand. This situation is different, is incredibly applicable on both sides. You don't understand. He's a great guy. And we lasted for a long time. We had a daughter, not without my manipulating that to happen. And he would continually say, you know, this is who I am. And I would say, no, it's not. I know who you are. I see the potential. I'm a teacher. We're all about potential. You might not be able to write your name now, son, but soon we'll get you where you need to be. We just need to work on this together. This is who I am, he said, and I ignored it, and I ignored it, and I ignored it. And then one May, we were laying in bed, and I was about at the end of my rope, and it was the middle of the night, completely dark. And I said, I don't know if I can keep doing this. And he said, do what? And I said, I don't know if I can keep standing here, watching you drowned, and not be able to save you. And he said, what do you mean? I said, it's like I'm standing on the shore of a lake. We're not even going with the ocean. We're going with lake. And you're out there and you're drowning and you're drowning, and I throw you a life preserver and you swim away from the life preserver and keep drowning. And the water is knee deep. Why can't you stand up? Why can't you save yourself? Because I can't save you, and I don't know if I can keep watching you. And he said, well, if you were drowning, I would save you. And I said, no, I don't think it works that way. And then I hadn't gone to Al-Anon. I was about 2 weeks away from going to my first meeting and learning how little I knew. And I asked him the stupidest question you can ever ask somebody who drinks. Who do you choose? And it was 30 seconds of silence. And I said 3 things. 1, that broke my heart. 2, thank you for being honest, because you could have said me, and we both know that's not true. And 3, next time you think you don't have a problem, remember that you couldn't honestly tell me that you preferred your wife over a liquid. And that was really presumptuous of me. I didn't have any right to ask that question because the answer was what the answer was, and it didn't matter whether I'd asked it or not. It helped me, though, to understand that, okay, this is where we are. And even with that, because I am an Al-Anoner who hadn't yet gone, we still stayed together for another 6 months. Because I belong in a program as much as any alcoholic. I think it's really easy for Al-Anon to get labeled the perpetual sisterhood of misery. Well, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. And there are people that perhaps that's true for, but I can tell you what, I picked my alcoholic. I picked the drama that went with my alcoholic. I came from a family of alcoholism and said, this is the crazy I know, and I'm going to keep looking for that crazy and try to control stuff that has nothing to do with me for the rest of my life. I had to learn things in the family where I came from to survive. Sense of humor, ability to outthink and outmaneuver and outmanipulate other people, And those worked really well in my family. I'm standing here today because they worked really well. I was not crushed. However, it doesn't work when I take those same skills out into the world and just unleash them on poor, innocent people. It's like if I would have learned to do a really good karate chop because that's what I needed to do to survive, but now I'm going out in the world and just karate chopping people at Target for no good reason. Like, there are consequences to that. And the people who see me karate chopping and walk away are pretty healthy. The people who go, ooh, let me get a closer look at that karate chop, are my people because we recognize it. I don't want in any way to make it look like, oh, poor Sarah. Wow, she's really been dealt a tough hand. No, I picked out the cards when you weren't looking. I built my hand. I made my hand. Oh, wow, poor me, says the person who put the jack there and put the 4 there and put the 5 there because that's what I needed to do. When my husband and I were at a party, and I'd been going to Al-Anon for about a month, 2 months maybe. We had the conversation on the way over. I drove because it's going to be a party, so I'm driving. And we had the conversation, and I know that it's ridiculous. We're driving over. I go, so how many drinks you going to have? And he said, I'm not counting them. And I said, well, couldn't you count them? I've been in Al-Anon now. I know that that's ridiculous. I can't stop myself from having that conversation. He said, I'm not even going to give you a number. I have nothing but respect for that, by the way. I'm not going to give you a number because even if I do give you a number, it doesn't matter anyways. So let's just cut through the chase. I don't have to lie. That's one less lie I need to tell. And I say, well, how about let's just say 10? 10 is a reasonable number. He goes, no, I'm not coming up with that. Well, we're at the party, and I purposely try to be away from him for part of the time. Yet, inevitably, we end up in the same room. And he's having a lovely time. And I'm watching him. And I'm counting the drinks I've seen. And I don't even want to, by the way. I'd like to make that really clear. I don't enjoy it. But I'm standing there, and I'm doing it. I'm counting it. And I'm thinking, well, that's been 7 I've seen. So, okay, we're probably, I'm doing my math. Very clever. Doing my math, I was probably 12 then, because there was a while we were apart, and they were playing, okay. I should go tell him he should stop. This is why I'm in Al-Anon. And this is why Al-Anon is just as important and is filled with just as many sick people as AA. Because I can't stop walking across that room and telling him, you should probably slow down. That looks like you've had enough. Maybe you should switch to beer. Have a water. I can't stop myself, even though I know it's not going to help. It's only going to cause more problems. And it's none of my business. But I am still walking across that room to go tell him something that is not going to make the situation better. And I figured out that, wow, that is just like the alcoholic who is standing there with drink number 12 going, this is not going to make anything better, but I can't stop from drinking it. I know in Al-Anon, I have the benefit of not needing to count the bottles that I've drank. There's no clinking in the recycling bin after a party if you're in Al-Anon. But if I were to sit down and say, how many times did I get involved in something in the last 24 hours that had nothing to do with me? Clink. How many times did I say something to somebody, whether it was an alcoholic or just somebody else that was near me at some point, that was not in my control and didn't need to come out of my mouth? Clink. I'd be walking around with a bag of them most of the time. And I've been in Al-Anon for 4 years. I think it's really funny that in AA, you count sobriety, and in Al-Anon, we count time. I've been in Al-Anon for 4 years. That doesn't mean that I know anything more than somebody who's brand new to Al-Anon. It means I've been in Al-Anon for 4 years. If we did chips, oh my gosh, I'd be getting like a welcome back 24-hour 24-hour willingness chip every meeting. And I think that I had to figure out that Al-Anon is not the soft sister of AA, that there are steps there for a reason, that I have to work them because I can't see the results of my ridiculousness the same physical way that somebody who drinks can. It was in the summer of that same year when my daughter and I went away on vacation for a week to visit family. My husband couldn't come with us because he had to work. He didn't have to work that much, but that's a choice, so he couldn't go. And on Sunday, I got the Al-Anon spidey sense that something was wrong. But he wasn't answering the texts, and he wasn't answering the phone call. And I'd been in Al-Anon for 3 or 4 months at that point, so I think I only did 2 phone calls, 3 texts in like a day, which is yay me. Clink, 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 but still better than it would have been before. And we got back from the vacation on Monday. I didn't hear back from him. Radio silence. Oh God, he's dead. Oh man, what has happened? Because I'm a couple 100 miles away and something's happening. Something's happening. I can't sense healthy relationships, but goodness sakes, I'm good at figuring out what's going wrong somewhere else. And we get home and we actually meet at our marriage therapist. That just happened to be, he got out of work and we got back from home. So we met on a Monday at the therapist's office. And he informs both of us of what has happened on Sunday. Hey, I was right. Not helpful for an Al-Anon to be right, by the way. Does not make things better sometimes. He and his friend had a sit down on Saturday. They both decided that they were drinking too much, that it was becoming a problem, and that they should probably do something about it. AA was not mentioned. Okay. On Sunday, the gravity of that conversation started to freak him out. It's bad when you and your best friend are both on board with something's going on, we need to cut back. That would be like me never being able to tell you what to do again. That's terrifying. So he starts drinking along with the pain meds he's on, and it goes downhill pretty quickly. He decides to text a number of friends, hey, you want to go out? And they're texting back, dude, it's Sunday afternoon. We're good. And that's not going to stop him. He's where he's got to be. He's in his head. He takes a taxi about 15 miles from where we lived to a strip club in downtown Harrisburg, spends $2,000, takes a taxi back. Raised the roof for taking a taxi, +1, definitely pleased with that. To my knowledge, that's not ever been his MO. He prefers to let other people do the driving. The $2,000 came out of our shared account, -1. That's a bit of a problem. And he told us this in a therapist's office, which, oh my gosh, is the absolute best place to tell somebody something terrible. And my first reaction was classic Al-Anon. I felt bad for him. I felt an intense amount of sadness and pity. And what I said to him in there was, my God, it's like you're in the Knight Rider car and you just get driven around when you're drunk and you don't even know what you're doing. And then you wake up and the car has brought you somewhere and done stuff and you had no control over that. I'm so sad. Our marriage counselor was also an addictions therapist. We walked out of that appointment with 2 or 3 brochures for local inpatient places because she said, you know, it seems like maybe that's getting to be a thing. And within 24 hours, he had convinced himself, A, he can't miss work. I do not belittle any job, but he is in construction. They would have been fine. B, it's not going to happen again, he says. And C, he doesn't get what the big deal is. Now also, he's not a stupid person, but it makes better sense to negotiate yourself around it. I get that. I get that because once I'd been in Al-Anon for a while, I realized that I'd separated myself out from some of the bigger drama, and I was still doing really stupid stuff that I couldn't pin on anybody else anymore. So maybe it wasn't them? Crap. So I ended up in another fellowship. I'm a double winner. And I ended up working on my own stuff. Al-Anon got me to that point. Now, back in August, we have a bit of a hole in the bank account now. And it takes me about a day to go from pity and denial to just good abject rage, because, oh my gosh, did you really just do that? And he was blacked out, doesn't even remember a thing. I felt I was already making jokes about, wow, you spent $2,000 on the B team too, because that's a Sunday afternoon. Like, that's a shame. And because you have to end it with a joke, because otherwise, oh, just terribly sad. About a week later, the local paper put out an article, and the city was going through some really hard times. There was a lot of services that just weren't being met, things that weren't happening, safety issues. And there was an article that said that this establishment was donating the money for 6 streetlights in one of the worst neighborhoods in Harrisburg. And I wanted to write in and go, all of those are mine. Every one of those lights are from me. I want a plaque on it that says, your safety, you're welcome, Sarah Palmer. Like, there is no way that they had been budgeting for that particular shortfall of money to come their way. I'm pleased that we had something to do with the renewal of the city in a very difficult fiscal time. Because otherwise, oh my gosh, it just breaks your heart. So thousands of people were able to walk safely at night because of somebody who needs some help. 2 people who need some help. Now, I've been going to Al-Anon. My husband and I decided to split. We said, hey, why don't we each spend some time working on ourselves? Our counselor, marriage therapist, God bless her, said, you might not want to go the 3 months you're suggesting. Maybe just do a month and meet, figure out, check in. Okay, we can do that. So we both put in our phones the Sunday that we're going to meet. We're going to talk about what he's doing to work on himself and what I'm doing to work on myself, because I told him I can't work on me with you here because I'm just going to keep focusing on you, and that's not fair to you. I was starting to understand how little control I had over him. And that Sunday morning, he sends me a text. Hey, Tom came over to watch football. Can we do this tomorrow? I see what you did there. No. So I text back, no, we agreed to meet today. Nothing. No response. Now, like a good Al-Anon, my first response was to go online and to search for the San Diego Chargers schedule, because he has family out in San Diego. That's his team. I'm like, well, maybe they're playing the 4 o'clock game. I don't know. We should be able to meet before that then. Maybe they're the prime time. I don't think they're the 8 o'clock game, because then we'd definitely be able to. They were on a bye week. That's when I got mad, because the only team he would have had any reason to watch wasn't playing football that week. I spent the afternoon doing what a good Al-Anon does, which is call my friends. Call my Al-Anon friends and just continue releasing the poison to somebody who doesn't need to pick it up. Because I wasn't aiming it at them. I was hurt. I was angry. I was fearful. I was incredibly sad. But in my family, you showed that by just being as pissed off as possible. Like, every negative emotion just kind of fits under the umbrella of, oh, hell no. So my Al-Anon friends listened. They didn't say, go do this. They didn't say, don't go light his truck on fire, because that is so where I was at that point. They just listened. They said, we'll call back if you need to. Okay. So that night at 8 o'clock, we have a daughter who's 2 at this point. And even though we've split, I see him or talk to him on the phone every day because that's just how we wanted to split her time. He loves her. He's a fantastic father. I love her. I'm the world's okayest mom. That's just how that's going to go. But so it's not like, well, thank God I'm not going to see him for 5 days, get my stuff together. Oh, no. We're on the phone at 8 o'clock calling to say goodnight to Daddy and asking how his day was because I want to model for her. That's how we talk with people that we love. And at the end of the call, I say, do you mind if I call back after she goes to bed? And that's the way I said it. Do you mind if I call back after she goes to bed? And he says, yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay, bye. Say bye, Daddy. We'll see. You're going to pick her up tomorrow from daycare. Okay, cool. So I'll see you tomorrow evening whenever we do the handoff again. And then I call back at 9 and our daughter's asleep and I say, so this isn't going to work, is it? Nope. So we're getting divorced, huh? Yep. Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30. I'll pick her up from your place. Okay, good night. And that was it. We ended with a whimper. There were a couple fights after the fact, but because of Al-Anon, I realized that I had been dragging us. We made it to 5 years married. I solely take responsibility for that. He actually said, yeah, we would have been divorced way before if you hadn't kept dragging us. It's a good choice of words. Okay. So I dragged us to 5 years married. Congratulations to me. But by going to Al-Anon, I slowly, really didn't want to learn what little part I had in his disease and what a large part I had in mine and how easy it was to ignore my part by focusing on his part. Now, we've been separated for 4 years. We've been divorced for 3 because that's just how paperwork works. We had a collaborative divorce, which means that he sits down with a lawyer across from me where I sit down with a lawyer and we work stuff out as a team. And that's what I wanted to do. And he said, that sounds good. And it took a while for him to actually get moving on that. And I started getting really frustrated. How come he hasn't found a lawyer? Let's do this. Because, if I'm divorced, then we'll all be happy and everything will be better because that paper will fix the complete betrayal of the future of our dreams together. Oh my gosh. And instead, he took his sweet time. It took a couple months, several months to even get a lawyer. And I remember saying to people in my group, like, oh my gosh, I just want this to happen. And they said, well, do you want this kind of hippie divorce you're going for? Or do you want like an angry, let's just rip each other up divorce? And I said, I just don't have the stomach for the rip you up divorce anymore. And they said, then shut up. Wait. If you want what you want, you can't always get it when you want. Like, oh, man. So I learned that my will is not God's will. And we had a 2-visit divorce. The 2 lawyers, because both of us need grown-ups, by the way. We both need grown-ups to be there with us. We both behave better when there's other people at the table to look good in front of. We behaved quite well. We even met outside of that and worked out some other stuff because we can save money if you and I just sit down and have our daughter go to your mom's for like an hour or 2. We can work this out and just save like $600 and then just go back and give this to the lawyers instead of working it out with them. Oh, okay, sounds good. Because I started treating him like an adult and not somebody I needed to manage, he could act like an adult. Because I started treating myself with some respect, he could treat me with respect as well. I'd been in the program about a year when I realized, and I think we were divorced at that point. If I would have said, Mike, and I hate to say this, but wow, there are a lot of Mikes, either in AA or could be in AA. I don't know if it's just the sample size is big because Mike's a common name, but wow. If I would have said, Mike, if you want to stay with me, you're going to have to stop drinking. And he would have said, Sarah, I love you more than life itself. I will do that for you. I will fight this disease. I will go to AA. I will find a sponsor. I will work the steps because you are that important to me. If he would have done that, some people would have went, and now we can have our happily ever after, thank God. I would have said, Okay, so apparently I can ask for stuff and it happens. You know you weigh a lot. You should probably exercise and lose some weight. And we would have gotten him on a rigorous exercise and healthy schedule. And then I would have said, you work too much. And he would have cut down on his hours, and you spend too much too, by the way. Those don't cancel each other out. I never would have been happy with him because I'm not happy with me. And until I got to Al-Anon and started to realize it had nothing to do with everybody else and had everything to do with me, I had no shot. I didn't stand a chance. I still know that anybody else around me that I could get close to that isn't already in a 12-step program, because you normally have your boundaries up and you go, yeah, you can ask that, but sorry, no. I both respect and really, I really respect that, and it just really bothers me too, because how come I can't control you? Still doing that. Other people, I'm going to push. I'm going to manipulate. I'm going to try to say what you need to hear and act the way you need me to act and be whatever you need me to be so I can get what I want. And because I have a higher power now, when I am able to hand that off, and it doesn't happen all the time, things work out much better than I ever could have planned. When I first married my husband, I expected we would be together forever. I specifically wanted till death do us part in the vows, because we are in this. We are locked in, so help me. We're not going anywhere. And now I realize that was just more control. No, you can't get away from me. If we're in, we are in. Like, you don't get to go. Because I'm sick, but it's a lot easier to look at you're sick. It's a lot easier to focus on you're sick. We had friends who said, you seemed like you got along really well. What was the problem? And I said, he has a problem with drinking and I'm a bitch. And that was never going to work, ever. So he's never been to recovery. He's never sat in on a meeting, caveat that I'm aware of, and that's not my problem. I'm still a bitch. But I have Al-Anon, which helps me to see that there's more to me than that. And there's more that I can learn, and there's more I can be of service. There's so much that I wanted to say that we don't have time for, that I'm grateful for the people that listen, like you. And I'm grateful for things that I hear, because oftentimes God puts people in front of me exactly when I need them. And they say exactly what I need to, what I need to hear. Sometimes what they say, what I need to say. I'm really rough on myself. I used to joke that, well, not joke, sorry. I've heard in the rooms, I love AA open meetings. I go to those as well as my other fellowship. And I've heard people say, you stop maturing at the age that your addiction really takes off. You know, you may have had your first drink at 13, but until it was really a problem, that's when you stop maturing. Well, I will happily take somebody else's inventory. Mike is 19. His apartment looks like a college sophomore lives in it with a 6-year-old. And I used to go, oh my gosh, like I'm married to a 19-year-old. We're in our late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, and he's like 19. He bought us matching shirts to wear to our divorce signing. I have the picture. I'm happy to show it to you. He's very tall. He's like 6'4", and we're standing next to each other and beaming, both of us. And he's holding the scales of justice from somebody's desk behind us. And I still laugh because he really is a hilarious, funny person, and I can't live with him because he has a problem and because we already covered that. It doesn't work. He's 19, and for a long time, I like to pretend that, they're perpetual scissor misery, right? The Al-Anon. I'm perpetually miserable because of, oh. And then it started occurring to me, Sarah, how old are you? When I walked in, I was 4. So God bless Mike for living with a 4-year-old. You know how hard that must have been married to a 4-year-old? But I want it. Why can't you do that? If you don't do that, you don't love me. If you do that, you love me. You're going to have to do it forever and ever and ever. But I want it. Well, then I'm not talking to you. I don't know how he did it. And the good news is, in recovery, I get older. A little bit. I'm 6 right now. The bad news is my daughter is also 6. So we have to figure out a deal by which I just need to keep recovering slightly faster than her. Because I don't think that's fair if she's 8 and I'm only 7. That's not cool. But emotionally, I have a long way to go. And I don't have to do it alone. Our daughter is affected by the family disease of alcoholism. There's no way around that. She is bright and hilarious and tall. And we have really loaded her up with the genetic time bomb. They say that the child of an addict is 9 times more likely to be an addict themselves or have that propensity. She's the child of 2 addicts. And I believe that addiction, in my experience, is a lot like a bunch of wall switches. They're all labeled. Alcohol, cocaine, gambling, sex, shopping, eating, spending, working, whatever. And for those of us who are built for addiction, some of those switches can flip on and off without a problem. Alcohol, ironically, is not a problem for me. If you told me, Sarah, all alcohol will be gone, I would say, oh, okay, whatever. That seems like people will have a hard time with that, but I'm good. That switch is fine. The switch about codependency, I switched that a couple times and now it's stuck. I can never unstick that switch. I can work on it. I can deal with what it's like when the lights are on all the time now, but I can never undo that switch. But if all I do is say, well, I'm just going to stop being in codependent relationships, I'm not going to do anything else, just going to work on that, and not being in that. It's a lot what he said last night. It's not just the allergy, it's the having to keep going after it. If I can't get my fix, if my addiction can't get my fix from crazy relationships, I'm going to keep going down that list of switches till I find something else that does. If I don't work on the box downstairs, if I don't go to the fuse box and work a program that shuts off the power to those switches entirely, then I'm just going to keep switching to something else. And I could end up with 4 or 5 things that I didn't even know were a problem, that drug of choice thing. Like I'm saying, it's switch of choice. What'd you start with? It's not going to be what I finish with unless I work a program and figure out how to get the power cut to those switches in the first place. I have a bad feeling that my daughter is going to hit one of those switches. Some of them, I imagine, just by genetics, are probably lit up. Come to this one. Right over here. And that's yet another reason why I keep going to Al-Anon. Because if I'm only 6, and she has the potential for addiction, then I have to get a bunch more years under my belt of recovery so I know what to do whenever something happens in the future. Now, that's somewhat doomsday-ish. Maybe she'll be fine. Maybe she'll fight the odds. That'd be awesome. But I'd also prefer to prepare for the worst on that one. And Al-Anon's not a bad place to be on a Wednesday night. And a Thursday morning. And 2 a.m. last night, needing to text somebody just to check in and say, hey, am I crazy? No, I'm not. Okay, cool. Good night. See you in the morning. They asked me to speak today, and I don't prepare. I like public speaking. But I asked when we were doing the 12 steps and 12 traditions and the daily reading, which was phenomenal. That was what I needed to hear. I asked my higher power to tell me whatever it was I needed to say. Because otherwise, it's a lot of ego. My ego's a little upset that my name is wrong on every one of those CDs. My mother decided Sarah without an H was a better choice than Sarah with an H, so you're getting Sarah with an H on your CD. That's not about me. It's not about me. It's about the message. And that's good for me to have those instances. Oh, look, they're all coming to hear me talk. Well, they're coming to hear somebody talk. She seems lovely, that Sarah with an H. I wish her the best. But I'm honored to be here. And I'm looking forward to hearing more of what I need to hear. Because I am as sick as everybody else in this room. And it is only through the 12 steps and a higher power that I have any chance in the future of being happy and healthy and serene. So thank you so much for coming, and I hope to see more of you today. Thanks for listening.